Well, hi everyone, it's Pete here for the Pain Toolkit, and yes, we are back doing another Pain Toolkit Academy Q&A, and you can see Dave down the bottom there. Dave is getting better now each day. He's had a little bit of a summer cold, but he's rocking and rolling. And going to probably ask, well, where the hell is Keith Meldrum? Yeah, he tells me he's on a little bit of a trek across Canada, and he messaged me today. He's reached the east coast like of Canada. So anyway, that's the travel alert. Hey, listen, look what we got with us today. We got Katie Knapton, who's also part of the Paint Toolkit Academy team. Hey, Katie, do you want to introduce yourself to the listeners and watchers?
Oh, sure. Thanks, Pete. So my name's Katie Knapton. I'm a physiotherapist. So I'm still working as a physio. I have my own clinic and I run an online business. And I'm also chair of Physio First, which is the private physiotherapy association in the UK. And I have, yes, lots of time for Pete and Dave, and we work quite a lot together, which is great. So I'm honoured to be here tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk about the academy a little bit through this session. Anyway, let's get cracking. So we've got a question sent in. Got a few tonight, actually. I don't think be able to get through all of them, but let's wait and see. So the first question is, what ethical consideration? I've got to be honest with you, Katie. These are quite tricky, like
It
Shall
may be beyond me then, Pete.
I? Anyway, the first one is, what ethical considerations come into play when advising patients on self-management techniques?
Well, I mean, I think some of it, isn't it? The patient is autonomous, so they can make their own decisions. And we need them to really understand what the benefits are and the potential limitations of self-management before bringing them on board. But actually, as clinicians, we need to respect that actually it's up to the patient to decide what level of engagement they potentially want to take on. And also, it's recommending things that were within our scope of practice that we know we are telling the right things and knowing when to refer. So if there's other psychological aspects that might need a professional and we need to be part of a bigger team to support the person, it's recognizing that. And then there's adapting approaches, isn't it, to respect different cultural beliefs or ways people approach things.
Yeah.
We all, and even from a personal point of view, people approach pain in different ways. So it's understanding that, it's being accessible, it's being able to get the patient on board without forcing them, because as we sort of talk about, there's got to be that period of acceptance and recognition, because sometimes it's hard for people to not understand that there's that quick
Mhm.
fix.
Yeah. I remember, I think the guys on my pain management program, they were uh, pretty good at this stuff, sort of really, because when we start getting introduced to pain self-management stuff, for me anyway, and looking at people around the room, from remembering back, there's a massive shift that has to go on, where you're going from that nurturing type of care through to, well, these are the things that the skills and tools that you're going to be needing, and but it was the groups. We was quite. I think it was 18 on our program. They split us up into two groups, but there was people there from all walks of life, really, Black and Asian community, etc. I think it's a Chinese person there as well. So, but and I always recall back and how they dealt with all that sort of stuff like that. But the handling that shift, I guess, where we've all been locked into that medical model of care, I guess. Like, yeah, Dave, what was it like for you? I mean, was there, what's your take on this question?
Yeah, ethical considerations. I hadn't really given it any thought until you read the question out, and then I was thinking if you two could take as long as possible to answer, that will give me more and more time to work something out. Um, yeah, it's I think Katie covered it really well, knowing when to push, when not to push,
Yeah,
when to pass on to someone else, when to be a bit firmer, when to be a bit gentler, but knowing your limitations and your area, well, not your limitations, but your area of expertise, your sphere of where you're working, knowing that inside out so that when it goes beyond where you're comfortable, you know that you've got to reach out to somebody else or ask the patient, sort of start to pass at
Mm,
that point onto the patient so that they drive. But as long as you're doing what you feel is right for the patient and you're getting the patient's buy-in, then I think you're going to
yeah.
be okay. That's
There was in fact there's a bit of a chat. Well, I'm not sure if it was a man or a woman last week, but they wanted to. I know they registered for the academy course, the patient one, and they wasn't sure whether it's for them or not, like, you know. And I asked for a bit. They actually emailed me with a bit more background where they've been on a rehab program already, like, you know. And I said, well, really, the online courses for um, people, perhaps haven't got access to any pain management, etc., like, from starting from scratch sort of thing, you know. But I said, have a look at the overview, etc., and see if it's for you, like, you know. But I think for me, I mean, I suppose because I've never seen the academy as being well, just book up and you'll enjoy it. For me, I don't want to. I know it's very low cost anyway, but I didn't want to feel like I'm having anybody on, like, to pay, come and join the course, and it ain't going to be for them, like, So as it turns out. I don't, they've got enough information already. Okay, so that's, I think we pretty much covered that one. Let's have a look at the question two. How do we handle patients who are resistant to adopting self-management practices?
Well, I mean, sometimes these are the joyous ones when you win them round, isn't it? So, I mean, I always think about it as we're working with, so we're working together. So it's that therapeutic relationship, isn't it? And I think as a clinician, sometimes it's really hard to accept that sometimes it's not, you're not the right person for that patient, and accepting that, even though however hard you want to try, sometimes it just doesn't work. But it would be in terms of exploring that resistance. So we would look at different tools that we have. So you'd lose like motivational interviewing, active listening, just to try and understand why they're so resistant to try. Because we've had this conversation before, Pete, but actually self-management should be approached with virtually every injury. It's not rocket science. And if we
Uh,
bring it in straight away, it's not a big deal. So it's trying to understand why someone won't take ownership.
mm,
And I think we do have, sometimes it's quite hard from moving from that passive, the doctor will give you a pill for that.
yeah.
And so we need to understand that. And when I talk to students and things, we talk about, I say that most patients, we're all designed to heal. For goodness sake, I'm actually quite rude, so I won't say that, but for goodness sake, don't muck it up. Okay, so the idea is that we're enhancing recovery. So it's understanding why they don't want to take on board that they have a role to play in it, and hopefully from that working out that the goal setting shouldn't be done by the clinician. They're your goals, and
Mm,
it's also checking that you're making identify what's important to them. So it's always that thing. Oh, some people are very into using resistance measures and etc. But actually, what's really important? Is it important that you can walk to your mate's house? Is it important that you can post your letters? Is it important that you can carry your shopping home? Or
yeah.
and it's really bringing small goals in really as early as possible that we know you're going to hopefully succeed at or are likely to achieve, and it's getting that buy-in. So I think it's being realistic. It's trying as far as you can, because you can never totally understand what someone else is going through, but it's trying to have that empathy, that willingness to listen, and just finding what is holding them back. And if you can get that in and get on together, because that is important, then hopefully you'll be able to win people round. But again, it might not be the right stage. It's also accepting, as we talked about with the first bit, if people aren't ready, and they're still looking for that fix.
Yeah,
Quite often, you're not going to manage to change their
no,
mind at that time, but hopefully they may come back to you.
yeah. I remember, I mean, in the 12 tool version of the pain toolkit, the first tool is acceptance, and a few years ago, actually, Keith, who we work with, Keith Meldrum, he said he'd been speaking to Bronnie Thompson, and she said willingness. There has to be a willingness to change as well. I guess, like accept that, the acceptance and willingness, etc. Like, and I mean, I always tell the story of my brother-in-law. I won't say his name to embarrass him, but he's had back pain longer than me, like, but he's never asked me about wanting to change or anything like that. I always think, what you're doing, Pete, and what can I do to help myself? Zero. He's never contacted me one bit,
Mm.
and but that's okay. Like, and to me, I'm not an ambulance chaser. Pete, there has to be that willingness to want to change, like, But as I said right at the beginning, or perhaps on the other question, like it's that when you're stuck in there. Sometimes people say, "Well, I don't know, is this going to work?" You know, better the devil I know than I don't know. And I was funny. I was sort of talking to one of my friends last night on the phone, and an older person like myself, and he's got, "Oh yeah, I want to do, but my knees, the pain in my knees, Pete." I said, "Yeah, I know, but that will go." Once you start moving around, it will go like, but there's that fear as well, like, that's,
And I think we underplay that, and we assume the fear means that actually there's a lack of motivation to change
yeah,
things. But a lot of it's the fear holding
yeah,
people
yeah,
back from bringing in
yeah,
change. So if you can win people round,
yeah,
then and support them. So we've talked about before. I think it is important to have a team or someone
mm,
who has an idea of what you're going through and how
yeah,
to support you through, because otherwise that, okay, you embrace it, but you get that first
yeah,
blip and you get that increase of, well, I'm not doing that again. But if you've got someone to guide you through, it makes such a difference. But
yeah.
yeah, I think sometimes people are hugely misunderstood, which is a shame. And I
But
think it's a big
when,
holding back factor.
I don't know about you, Dave, but when we was building the Pain Talk Academy and the course we launched this year, was it, or last year, with the patient course, etc., how much input myself and you and well, me and Katie, we sort of did the healthcare professional one, but the patient one was, I think, um, how having our input into it, like passing on our experiences. Yeah, we were like that, but this is what we did, sort of thing, like, because I think it is a, as you say, Kate, is that fear thing, like the F word, I call it, the four-letter F word, and that stops us from doing so many things, like, because us lot as well, look, Dave, we're overthinkers, and what happens if we get a bit, the what ifs, I call them, what if,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
what if I do this, but what if it makes me worse, and da 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 da, and I mean, I think for healthcare professionals to come in, it's a tough gig for them, like, because you know they're thinking, yeah, it's all right for you, you can do what you're doing, but I'm not sure, this is for me. And I think some people are slow burners. Like, I mean, yeah, Dave, you was a slow burner, weren't you?
Well, if you call 7 or 8 years slow, then yes. But yeah, just listening to your answers, and something that sprang to mind, something I was using with somebody I was coaching relatively recently, and she was going that, she can't do this, she can't do that. And I was like, well, okay, so I could tell you what to do. Not going to help you, but I could tell you what to do. Um, but I said, let's put it another way. When you get up in the morning, does your husband tell you that you've now got to clean your teeth, you've got to go to the loo, you've got to have a shower, you've got to put some clothes on before you go outside? Do you get told what to do every step of the day? And it's like, well, no, because I know I've got to do that. But you're doing that, you're self-managing yourself up to that point. and then you get dressed, you have your breakfast, you sit down, and then you're waiting for the medical professional to tell you what's the next step.
Yeah.
But you've managed to do, really complicated activities that have got a fair amount of movement in them, and you've actually done quite a lot for yourself already. So, what could you do next? Building on what you've already done. Hey, you can have a rest.
Mm.
I quite like a rest after a shower in the morning. It's tiring, You're 6 foot odd. It takes a long time to get all the way down to the ground. But um, you know, you're not going to then sit down and go, well, no one's told me what to do next. I'm just going to sit
Yeah.
here all day. So, a lot of people are already self-managing. They just don't realize it. And
Yeah.
if you can bring along some successes they've had outside of the consultation with the medical professional, that might help you, sort of just get that momentum going and get that ball rolling.
It's back to that celebrating success.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You have to recognize it to
yeah.
celebrate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't realize how much you're doing, even though it hurts all the time. You don't realize how much you've done just to get up to the point where you've made your medical appointment that day.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. This is not, I quite like this one. It's probably really aimed at you, I think, Katie. What advice would you give a healthcare professional who is new to the concept of pain self-management?
But yeah,
Run.
learn about it.
Yeah.
Understand it rather than thinking it as sort of it's a secondary approach to care. As we said, it should be primary for everything, ways of managing, coping, continuing with things, and look at there's plenty of evidence and things to read on it, and you need to be confident in selling it to people. So, oh, well, it's a bit like we've had a discussion recently with a surgeon. The worst thing is when a surgeon says to someone, well, you could try that, you could try exercise, but then you could have surgery. It's like it's a secondary way to approach things. You need to have, so if you're teaching people or expecting them to believe in what you're saying, you need to believe in it yourself.
Yeah.
So get yourself gemmed up. You don't need to be doing a pain science MSc, but you just need to understand and actually you just need to listen to patients. Because if you listen to them, they will tell you what their struggles are, and some of which you'll be able to help work through together.
Yeah.
So I think there's plenty to read, there's plenty to look at. And we've got some ideas on that as well. And also, buddy up with colleagues who are doing it.
Yeah.
Get onto the Pain Toolkit Facebook page and you'll get a lot of information from it. But I think nobody has all the answers. So I think it's scary, isn't it? People go, oh, well, they're a pain expert or whatever. But actually, you don't have to be like 30 years qualified to be able to help people. I
Yeah.
think willingness, ability, and some education is what would help to
Yeah.
start.
People want easy to understand
Keep it
information.
simple. It's the
Yeah.
keep it simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
We take the stupid
This
away.
come up on social media at the weekend, over the weekend, and about it's funny enough that Shana I'm going to do a Q&A with later on tonight. She said that, and she reminded me that average age of people around the world is, I think she over there she calls it grade six. What I had to find out at what age that is about 12. The
What,
reason,
health literacy, you mean?
yeah, health
Oh,
literacy.
it's between 8 and 11 over
Yeah, I
in
go
the
8 and
UK.
11. Yeah. But I mean, because that cropped up because I was watching some videos on Instagram of someone. I follow. She does. I understood it because I'm familiar with that terminology, healthcare professional terminology. But the terminology she's they were talking about, I thought I don't know. This ain't people aren't going to. It's too medical like.
Yeah. There's no need to overcomplicate.
No,
It
yeah. I mean,
really doesn't need to be
yeah,
complicated.
listen, I've got no, if, when you're living with pain, your concentration is out of a flea, like, and it's not very good, like, so we want information in a simple format. And I always say to people, but to healthcare professionals, to basically ask the person, how do they prefer their information?
Yeah.
How do they learn? Do they learn from reading, watching, practice, um, whatever, but or perhaps a combination of all three or four, like, So, and I think it's not so much being a healthcare professional, but being a coach, like, coaching people and they're being there to support if and when needed, etc.
And the other thing is that, if you're starting out on introducing people to self-management and you're not you haven't done it a few times and you're not feeling overly confident, don't try too many things at once, because Pete mentioned that, we're in pain, so it's hard to concentrate. So, start off trying one thing at a time. Don't overload the sessions where you talk about three or four things
Yeah,
and then give them those to go away with ready
yeah,
for the next session. Do maybe only do one a session and just go into it and make sure that, that person really understands it, or at least can repeat back to you some of the stuff. Getting them to repeat back to you what they've said actually helps you, because you can hear what they've taken away from it, and then you can refine your message. So, there's nothing to be scared of. It's
mm,
something that can be done, as Katie said, right from the beginning. And it's well worth introducing the concepts early on, because if the medical model can't remove the pain,
mm,
then the self-management will be, it has already been seeded there,
yeah,
and they're already doing something, and then they've already had a couple of wins outside of managing to get
yeah,
dressed in the morning. So, it's going to be, you've already got the win, so you can
yeah.
build on that quite early on.
Make sure if a person living with pain watching this, make sure that you've you engage the services of someone that knows about pain self-management, etc. Like they've been on the pain Toolkit Academy or some other course like where they've learned pain self-management skills. Listen, I think we've got time for one more question. Then time flew fly, didn't it, Katie? When you're
Yeah.
talking stuff, it's great. Listen, I'm going to hop onto this last one. I'm just going to, because it's the last question, I'm going to nip onto this one here. How do you see, or how do we see the future of self-management evolving with advancements in healthcare technology? Shall I start? If I
You
kick
can
it off,
start.
Yeah, go for it, Pete.
um, I think there's a part of technology going to be quite useful. I did a Q&A last week with Jerry Dunham, who's over there in the States, and we were talking about how AI is going to be involved in healthcare, etc. But the future of self-management, I think it's not a. I always seen it's been like a sort of been the bridesmaid and never the bride, like in healthcare. But I think people are waking up. It's been a slow burner, but I think decision makers, healthcare professionals, now slowly have realised now that the old ways of managing pain are not going to become obsolete. But like just doing pills, injections, and treatments and stuff like that isn't. Listen, when they talk about 1 in 5 people, and it's not us saying this, is like the World Health Organization and IAS, the International Association of Study Pain. They're talking about, is it 1 in 5 people around the world living with pain now? This let's be honest here, there isn't a terracotta army of healthcare professionals or pain coaches that can help support people, etc. So I think, in a way, technology is going to play a big part. I still don't. I still think we're like at this now. Look at what we're doing now, Zoom. You know, when I first started off doing this stuff, like if I wanted to talk to anyone, I'd write a letter or ring them up. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm now going to talk to anyone around the planet. So using this technology to our advantage is massive. And So it's going to be continually evolving. Uh, Over in Australia now, um, I think this year they've just started up doing three pain self-management courses run by the dudes over there. So they're sort of kicking into gear, and I think we're here in the UK. I think it's only it won't be decades away. I think in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, there's going to be a massive shift going on, uh, doing uh, doing what we do with the academy, etc., which is great. We don't want to hog or it's because it's about reaching it's all about increasing
Yeah.
capacity, like.
So I think if we're talking about accessibility, then I totally agree, and I'm quite happy to embrace. And certainly as a clinician, I already use AI note takers, and certainly it gives me better time to engage with my patients because I don't have to be worrying about my notes. And I see that there's some cleverer apps coming out, and they will already talk about the AI physiotherapy clinic that's already been used in the NHS for low back pain. So,
Yeah.
but my question would be in terms of longevity of actual, if it's making, at the moment, we don't know how much difference these things that are being brought on are making more long term. So
Mm.
we know any intervention makes a difference short term, but it's the long term. And here we're dealing with people with long term problems. So I think we need to embrace what is useful, understanding that some clever AI or algorithm driven apps can be really useful for some people, but they won't be the answer for all. And some will suit some, and others will suit others. And so I think engaging with them and using them as is helpful. But again, we're looking at behavior change. And a bit like, when someone first gets a smartwatch and it nudges them to move, people become a little bit, blind to it after a while. They don't notice it. So I think to probably still one of Keith's line, we still need to keep the humanity in healthcare. So you still need that human point contact to help keep it real. Okay, so that you're talking to real people with real world issues and real life, and so that you can fully engage when things go up and down. So I think it's exciting. I think hopefully it might help engage some. It certainly maybe the younger generation will be ones who be able to embrace it more fully. And I think, yeah, if it makes things accessible, and in the ideal world, we make it accessible early enough so that actually persistent pain isn't such a problem. Now,
Mm.
that would be phenomenal, but at the moment, that's not what we're dealing with.
No.
But, I think, we know that a lot of the mental health apps and support bits do work or do help, but I still think there's going to be use of humans, but with some extra help. If it adds, that's great. But I still think there's always going to need a human touch point.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. Dave, you work in this sort of technical field. I mean, how do you see this sort of working out over the future?
Um, well, if it's anything like the rest of it, it'll be a wild west, and who knows where we're going to end up. But yeah, like Katie, I'm relatively optimistic. I saw something online a few months ago that made me chuckle, and it was, yeah, I want AI to work out how to do the washing up and all of the other sorts of stuff. I don't want it to be doing the stuff that I enjoy doing. So, yeah, I think there'll be an interim phase before it goes fully on, and that needs to be there to either make the clinician's life easier or make the patient's life easier. Take away some of the mundane stuff that gets in the way so that they can focus on, adding the value or, you know, picking up that self-management and being able to drive it. I did have a flippant answer ready, and it was like, well, what was it? 20 odd years ago, some professor at Reading University put a chip in his arm so that he could get into the university without needing his swipe card. So I was thinking we could just take it one step further and just put a chip in someone that just constantly says in your ear, you're not in pain, you're not in pain, you're not in
Yeah,
pain. And
yeah,
then hopefully that will solve all of the problems.
yeah.
It's never going to be one solution sorting
No.
all, is it?
I was just thinking here, coming to my mind, passing through my mind. I remember, I think it was in the early 2000s. I was at British Pain Society conference, and there was a Canadian guy there. And because of, well, we all know how vast Canada is like, and and when patients wanted to talk to they couldn't talk, they couldn't access the pain management service because of distances and stuff. If they wanted any support, but what they did, this guy, he set up something on the telephone. I mean, it sounds pretty prehistoric now, but it was like, well, for support, it was they could ring a number, and it was press one for learning a bit more about exercising, press two for pacing, and so on and so forth. Like, so probably that was like the early version of AI, I suppose, in some way. But to think of that, put the old push button thing, like, but. Anyway, let's going to wrap things up. Thanks everybody for taking part tonight, and hopefully we can do another one like this in the future and etc. People are really giving some really positive feedback about this Q&A. They're finding it useful, educational stuff and whatnot. So anyway, take care, guys, and I'll see you very, very soon.
Thanks,
Bye
Pete.
all.
Here we go. Take care. Ciao.